the Americas. And alongside with Alberto, he turned his vision into reality. So for you guys to know, he is founder and CEO of Infomac, and he's also a partner and board members at Midwest Ventures. So please, let's welcome him.
Good morning, everyone. How are you all feeling today? Great? Amazing? We created Connecting the Americas for special reasons. One, for having people like you. Two, for sharing knowledge by you, Alberto, and Nabil. Three, to create opportunities together. Let's blend the 1, 2, and 3 and make this way great. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Antonio. So, last but not least, before we dive into the heart of today's discussion, let me thank the organizations that helped make this possible. So, first of all, I want to thank UbiMinds. So, for you that don't know them yet, they can help you build your team in LATAM, right? So, UbiMinds does beyond recruiting. They also take care of everything you need to accelerate the business, which actually includes getting started with AI. We also have Infomac, and that is a AWS partner, and they do generative AI, managed service, and also cybersecurity solutions. So if you want to know anything more, get started, feel free to reach out to these folks up front, and we have some of the team members of both UbiMinds and Infomac here. And last but not least, we have AWS, which is, the most widely used, widespread cloud platform out there. So, to be mindful of your time, our agenda today is 40 minutes of conversations. We're going to have Alberto mediating here. And then afterwards, we're going to open for a few questions. So please, as much as you want to ask, we're always happy to have you guys engaged. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the folks that are going to be our hosts for today. We have Alberto Silveira. He is our mediator. He's a CEO. He's a published author, a Forbes Tech Council member, and also, like I said before, a co-creator of Connecting the Americas. So, Alberto, please take a seat. And we're also in very good hands today. So our guest speakers is Nabil Ezzarhouni, who is currently a senior machine learning and generative AI solutions architect at AWS. And he's actually here Austin-based, so we have someone from here making us proud, right? He is an expert speaker on deep learning in custom environments, right? And also in mobile applications prototyping, is that correct? So, Nabil, very glad that you could join us today. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Good morning.
Good morning.
It works, huh? All right. Good morning, everyone. So we're going to be talking about, have you said the word AI how many times today?
A few times.
Few times?
A few times.
Yeah. Same here. I feel like if you don't say like AI at least 10 times before 8 in the morning, you're like dated.
Yeah, exactly. I'm already outdated, so.
Interesting enough, and jokes aside, I always like to start with common ground. Let's put like some definitions in place because AI became a buzzword. Everyone says AI. Everyone wants AI. And I don't even know why I want AI, but I want AI. So with all the experience you have, background, could you share like what is the definition of AI?
So, first of all, I'm really happy to be here and to be able to exchange and discuss the artificial intelligence. And believe me, my intelligence is very artificial. Before starting, how many are founders or CEOs? Raise your hand if you are in. Yeah, well, there's a few. And how many are very experienced in AI? You've been working for 10 years in the field. Not a lot. Okay. So, first of all, I'm going to introduce myself a little bit, give you a little bit of like background, and then we're going to dive into AI. So my name is Nabil Ezzarhouni. I am based in the wonderful state of Texas in Austin. I've been living in the US for 10 years. I was born in Morocco and I grew up in France, and I had different role in technology infrastructure and development applications. I led programs to migrate application to the cloud, to consolidate application, write application. I've been covering the whole life cycle of the enterprise application developments. I worked at Amazon, Meta, and currently I'm a solutions architect. I'm helping customers to build and scale their Gen AI and artificial intelligence workload on the cloud to achieve their business goals. So what is AI? So if we want to, so AI is not a new thing, even though there's a lot of buzzword. Artificial intelligence existed since the 50s roughly. And if we want to simplify at its extreme, we have data and a computer, and we design the computer to learn from the data, to execute tasks that can only be done by humans before. So that would be the very quick definition of AI. It allows machines to do things that only humans were doing. So we have multiple use cases like computer vision, prediction, forecast. There's a lot of things that machines are doing as good as human and sometimes even better. The opportunity here is that AI, and of course, I've seen a lot of different technology trends for the last 25 years of experience I have. I remember the network computer in the late 90s. The different waves of technology, the Web 2, the Web 3. AI is very different from all of this because it's already changing a lot. The risk of this technology, I compare that as the boom of the oil and gas, at the beginning of the 20th century, right? We had this energy that was surging, we didn't understand why, and then we apply it to build cars. So it's really a catalyst and an enabler of multiplying your business and your opportunities. It's very powerful, and we are just scratching the surface of it right now. And I think it's really important, and I really thank you for coming, because you are aware about this potential. There's a lot of words, there's a lot of conversation, but let's try to focus on the quality conversation and insight that you want to take from today. It is really important. AI is going to disrupt, it is already disrupting multiple industries. So, and I like to say that, is that you don't have the choice of things that happen outside of your control, but you still have control of your behavior towards the change. So, whatever you cannot avoid, you should embrace it, good or bad things, but embrace the change of AI. And really, I'm really excited and happy to help you to navigate through this new technology change.
You use a word that that's how I describe AI as well, is disrupting the way that we live and the way that we do things, without even we realizing that. It's in our home, it's in our cars, it's in our day-to-day. And as a CTO myself, it's like building the product and the technology is like how, we have processes, we have people, we have a product that we are trying to accelerate the growth. But at some point I need to actually start thinking about AI. So what is your recommendation? Definitely not too late to start with AI.
No,
you just mentioned we're scratching the surface, so timing is good. But how if you're a CEO, you're building a product, if you're a CTO, if you're an executive, you have your business, what is your recommendation? Where do I start? What is the best way to get started with AI?
So to get started with AI, you have already taken the first step, meaning that coming here and learning from someone that has a modest experience in the space. So that's very important. So AI is just a technology. It's a very important technology, but it's a technology. When you open the water or you use electricity at your place, do you really care that it's powered by your coal manufacturing or nuclear facilities? No, but nuclear energy has been extremely disruptive, right, by the sheer scale of that. So my recommendation to start is to first educate yourself. And there's a lot of interesting resources that you can find online. AWS has a very good course for all levels, and they have partnered with deeplearning.ai. And deeplearning.ai offers the best course in generative AI and machine learning. There's not only purely technical course, but it's really important not necessarily to go very deep, but to understand how the technology works, and not all the nuts and bolts, but to really understand how you can leverage and use it for your customers. So usually you have the product vision, you have the experience. So let's start with the word experience. I love this word, experience. The world of business, it's a blend of creativity and rationality. When I say rationality, you're trying to look for a fit-to-market product, right? You're looking to iterate on the product, you're trying to find your customers, you try to build a product, and you have a specific assumption of the customer experience. But then, when you are imagining this experience, you need to face it with reality, right? So that's an experience. You're trying to confirm your assumption with real life. So you are creating an experience, you add a feature, you run some focus groups, you discuss with your customers, you're trying to design your experience, right? But the other definition of experience, I'm going to refer to Jimi Hendrix experience, is you are going to do something, you don't know the outcome, you don't do these things to validate a specific assumption, you just do it, and you see how it goes. And that's where is the creativity. It's really hard to explain. And I think the world of business needs a blend of the two elements, meaning that you are still grounded in reality, you still need to have clear data that will confirm the impact of your product on the customer. But then you need to have this little creativity, this little thing that is not you cannot define, that will really delight your customers. Because you don't want to just be a cookie cutter of a repeating experience that other competitors can offer. That's your differentiator. So, based on that, specifically in AI, there's a lot of opportunities in learning about AI. A lot of technology firms are offering enablement courses. What I would suggest as well is to connect with either a mentor or somebody that has deep experience, and not necessarily to go through the nuts and bolts, but to guide you, in this forest of opportunities. It's really hard because it's so noisy that it's very difficult to determine what is the next action to take for your customers. So, and this AWS partners, there is a rich ecosystem of partners that you can partner with. They are really keen on helping, iterate through use cases, see if the idea is doable or not. Because the challenge of AI is that if you don't know the technology boundary, you are either going to create an impossible product, or driven by the technology, trying to address a problem that nobody is really interested in. So that's the reason why you need this clarity, this focus on the customer experience. What is the customer experience? What is the value that you want to give to your customers? And how technology can enable you. And I made that mistake. I thought that I would do all by myself. You just can't. You need to rely on trusted partners, friends, mentors that are working, that have the experience to guide you into that. So that would be my recommendation. And of course, if you want to talk to me, I'm free for any conversation. But yeah, that's something I would suggest.
About this is, living in housing myself, I can mow my own grass, Do I want to? No, not really. Can I actually, unclog the toilet? Yeah, I can do that. Do I want to do that? Probably not. So I think how I'm trying to convey and what we are trying to see is like AI, everyone wants to do something with AI. And starting without guidance, it's really hard. So if we're talking like experimenting with AI, can I do that by myself, Nabil?
Well, you can do everything by yourself if you have the time and the focus and the energy to do that. The question is that is it the right time of use of your time? As a CEO, as a founder, you really need to focus on the product, the customer experience that is different from others. You cannot just do the same thing as others. Of course, and I'm the first one to do that when my wife is asking, hey, the ice maker doesn't work. Oh, let me fix it. This kind of thing. And I would spend 4 hours on YouTube trying to figure out, this kind of pride, sorry. But spending 4 hours instead of paying maybe somebody outsourcing, even if I pay the price, it's just a better use of my time. The other part is that you should always focus on your strength, not your weaknesses. Because when you are focusing on your strength, that's easier said than done. But when you are focusing on your strengths, you're getting better and better at something that not other people are able to do. You are differentiating yourself from the competition by capitalizing on your strength. You can still focus on your weaknesses. Is it the right use of your time? Probably not, because even if you spend a huge amount of energy on addressing your weaknesses, first of all, you will never be at the level of someone that is very strong. And two, all the time that you have spent to address these weaknesses, well, you haven't strengthened your strength. So, taking this example with that, is that for AI, being an expert requires making mistakes. And I've made a lot of mistakes, so I don't want you to make these mistakes. So leverage partners, technology companies, and ask them very candidly and be very open and transparent with them. Say, I don't know where to start. Can you help me? Can you guide me? And the thing is that by being very intentional towards your customer, it's brain time that you are removing from managing all this technical aspect. Doesn't mean that you don't have to pay attention. You still need to know how it works, what are the opportunities and what are the risks. But by focusing on what you are doing for your customers, you are going to bring your strength to your company, to your customers, while leveraging the expertise of others that can help you to mitigate risks and avoid being disrupted.
So everything takes time. I heard once, time is money. Everything there's a cost. And if that's not moving your business forward, it can be a distraction. So experimenting with AI, I heard depends on the company size we were talking about. Some companies have now dedicated budget to figure out and experiment with AI. Smaller companies, don't have the luxury or time to invest in AI. But everyone wants to experiment with AI. So what is your advice? Especially, let's start with the smaller companies, and then we can talk about the larger organizations. But for focusing in small to mid-sized companies that every minute counts, every dollar counts. But I still see the vision and I'm focusing on my product. What is your advice to get experimenting with AI? And because at the end of the day, Nabil, we need to understand the cost and how expensive it is to actually experiment with AI in the context of a small to mid-sized company. And then I will ask the follow-up, giving you the hint for larger companies.
No, I love working with small and middle-sized companies because they have constraints that large companies don't have. They have a lot of opportunities because you can move fast. You don't have a complex organization. You don't have to ask the approval. You can really move fast. So I just want really to stress on that. The other part about AI is that the cost of entry of just using this technology is getting extremely low. You can easily go to the console, go online and test different products and see what impact it can do for your business. The thing is that you want to focus on the most impactful things, right? You cannot just scatter yourself on multiple use cases. So there's one framework that can help you, a mental model that can help you to prioritize these efforts. So imagine just 3 buckets for AI, and you can apply that to any new initiatives. But specifically what the trend that I've seen in AI is that AI can do, first of all, existing business processes. It can do the same thing but cheaper. So you're not reinventing the wheel, you're not building a space shuttle, you're not working on the most fancy technology, but you are tackling practical daily problems that you use for your operations. Is there an opportunity? Yes or no? And then when you are focusing on that, using AI, you can easily have some quick wins, generate some gains from leveraging this technology. For example, it can be a manual process, and I'll give you an example that I've been working. It's reviewing underwriting for loans. So it's a manual process, but the idea is that if you can use some of the AI capability to pre-screen and do a lot of analysis work and create a summary of that, and then point to in the application file where are the information and the reason why you made the decision, you save time. And time is money, so you transfer that to your customers. So on this first bucket, don't try to reinvent the wheel, but try to improve incrementally an existing process using AI. And that's very easy to do because the processes, you know them. You know your business. You know how much it costs to create a specific output based on your input. The second part of AI is to augment. So when you augment, it means that you still have your existing processes, but you create something new. You add a new feature. Again, in this case, you're not reinventing the wheel, but you augment the capability of your customer service. For example, in customer service, you can have a robot that will automatically suggest the best approach while the conversation is happening with your customer. So it's a great way to scale. You can have as well predictive analytics. So instead of, and that's recommendation, that's something that is very mature in the e-commerce space, is that you can have improved product recommendation based on the history, based on the customer, based on where you are. And adding these choices, proposing these options, and people can be overwhelmed with options, but it usually generates more business. But again, you don't take the risk of creating a brand new category. You are starting from your business and working backward from incremental improvement. So the first bucket is productivity improvement. You do the same thing but cheaper. The second bucket is you're doing something with the same cost or maybe a little bit higher, but you propose something new. You augment the capability of your product or services. And then the third bucket is the reinvention. You create a new product. You create a new category. You create a new function. And that's great because you are not disrupted. You just create a new market instead of trying to compete for the same market. The risk of and the opportunity on the third approach is that you don't want to start from the third one. You always want to start with the first and second one because from a team scaling and team dynamic perspective, you really want your team to be empowered to own the solutions, to scale the solutions, and to create new solutions. And the technology today is really rich. You have a very important ecosystem. We have multiple vendors of large language models that are getting better and better quickly. And again, the cost of adoption, 10 years ago, you need to have a PhD to use machine learning. Now it's not the case. If you are a developer, you can easily integrate the APIs within your application if it's a technology-driven application.
Very good, Nabil. And appreciate those three pillars, buckets, I guess, as how you refer. How about in large organization to get started with AI? Just to wrap up on that particular, like what does it change? Because companies are literally allocating large amount of budgets for it to get started. What are like the opportunities and the risks with that approach, I guess?
So in large organization, let's talk about, so I'm going to tackle the large organization scaling. But first let's talk about the risk and opportunities.
Yes.
So the risk of AI, first of all, so machine learning is not that new, but generative AI is very new. So it means that it will change, it's changing already very quickly. In less than 2 weeks, we had the Mistral model being launched. We had the Cloud 3 launched with 3 flavors of models. But what it means is that you have new capability of reasoning at a cheaper cost. The second part of the risk, so it's a space that changed very quickly. So in order to be still economically competitive and be on the edge for your competition, you need to be updated and in the know in the ML space. When you build your product, you need to think, and from a more technical standpoint, you need to have an agile approach. You need to have your system that can easily switch from one model to another, or another features to another. Because if you don't do that, you are going to have technical debt that will cripple your way of innovating and iterating on your product and scaling. And the other risk is about data privacy, so that's very important that you know where are your data, how your data are being used, how you collect data, is the data trustful, because 90% of the quality of an AI will be determined by the quality of your data. That's super important. It's not something that is well shared and known, but AI is a tool, machine learning is a tool to do some amazing output and amazing value, but 90% of the work of AI is done on the data, cleaning the data, preparing the data, and so on. So don't neglect the data layer. If you have a good data strategy, and again, you have a lot of consultants and companies and partners that can help you, you cannot go wrong, because as long as you have good data, you can easily pivot, use your data in different ways, and use other models. In large organizations, I would say that the main problem is from starting from the experimentation to go at scale. That's the most difficult, because experimentation, you want to keep the cost of experimentation very low. So you want to test your assumption, you want to iterate very fast, right? But in terms of compliance, security, data usage, it's usually things that are slowing down the pace of innovation. It's not a question of or, it's and there's always a tension between security and innovation. The other part is that even if you work in a smaller organization, you can leverage the power of the cloud. The cloud vendors, they have capacity, they have services that you can use out of the box. Instead of reinventing the wheel, you will save a lot of time. And usually they will transfer you value by taking care of some part. It's a shared responsibility model, but there's a lot of things that a cloud vendor can help you in terms of security, confidentiality, compliance. I know that AWS is compliant SOC 1, 2, 3, and gives a lot of certification compliance that you can see on the website. But the idea is that instead of trying to rebuild everything from scratch without, let's use strategic partners for the undifferentiated effort and really focus on your customer experimentation and scaling. Last thing I wanted to say about large organization, you are the expert in your business, so you will know what exactly will work in value for your business, and it's an iterative process. If everybody knew exactly from the get-go what will work as a business, well, I think our job will be easier, but unfortunately we have to do that. So rely on the circle of partners and use strategic partners like the cloud because the cloud is going to take off a lot of your constraints. It's going to take off the managing the infrastructure. They have already the models available. AWS has all the models from Anthropic, the most vendors. They have Mistral that has been released, so you don't want to keep up, so let AWS do
Mistral, is that a French one?
Yes, Mistral is the French one that is more performant. Because the last risk I wanted to share is the cost. AI is great, but it costs a lot of money because it requires a lot of compute, a lot of GPU. So the advice I want to give you is that when you are working on an experiment and you work on the assumption, see how it's going to work at scale. All right, if you have 10 users, great, they are happy, but how does it perform when it's 10,000, 100,000, 1 million? That's the problem we want to have, right? To have too many customers. But yeah. But the thing is that if you are not able to deliver the service to our customers at scale, it's going to impact the brands, and you're not going to offer a good experience, and the customer will switch to another provider. The other part is that it's really hard to measure, and I had a conversation this morning, but it's really hard to measure because you have so many metrics. So of course, leaning to experts, but something that is, if you have to remember one thing from this session, is that generative AI can cost a lot, but always tie it to an output. What I mean by that? So if your the LLM, they are not deterministic and they are stateless. It means that it's really hard to explain why they chosen this path. And it's like a etch a sketch, meaning that after you send the first evocation, it has completely forgotten what you have asked. There is no mechanism for memory. You can build this mechanism, and a lot of AI products requires you to build this memory, but it's not built in. So the economics of the generative AI are the tokens. It's the number of words and the context window you're sending to the models and the numbers you're getting back. That's your economics. Because there's a lot of units, but you can use this as a proxy. And then among the lever, because there's a lot of technical lever, I'm not going to go into details. It's the quality of prompt engineering, the specific type of the model, the size of the model, the number of parameters, and so on. And again, I would really suggest you rely on experts that can help you to make some meaning of all these parameters, but always tie it to an output. Observe the conditions of the consumption of your tokens and when the tokens are generating business for you, because you can use it as a lever. Okay, when I use this model with this specific type of prompt and with this framework of evaluation, I have this outcome. Use that as a lever, because the model are so complex, and that's a big change of paradigm into the software development. Software development, we like to control the environment. We want to know exactly what each pieces are doing, right? But in AI and ML, specifically in the generative AI space, you can do that, but I don't think it's the right use of your time. You really need to focus on the output, use the different levers that are available, make sure that at scale you are not going to explode your costs and still keep your customer happy. And the only way to do that is by the metrics, by data, and that's super important to have this metrics-driven approach. Of course, you should not forget the quality approach, if your customer is happy, and some other things that are not captured by metrics. But it's really important to be focused on the output, because the technology is evolving so fast. It's a lever that is in 2 weeks we'll have Cloud 5, or Cloud 6, you have some new models, some new ways of doing things. But by being agile and really have the customer in mind, you can accelerate the opportunity through AI.
You mentioned when I woke up, there's a new AI model, and you mentioned like Mistral, there's Cloud 3, and this morning you told me already there's actually Cloud 4 coming out. There's the Meta one like Llama, right?
Llama too, yeah.
So I guess if I want to start experimenting with AI, I mean, there's so many different and I know that there's like, of course, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's some models that are good for some things, some models that are good for other things. If you try to use it, who hasn't played with ChatGPT up to this point, but it's pretty bad in math. So, but what is your guidance or like advice, or like even the criteria to evaluate the different models and to try? Because there's the different versions, but there's like the different models as well. And connecting that with like different use cases. Maybe if you could give like some examples, like for a given use case, I would actually, this is what I would look and you choose model A, or like that use case I will do model B. Could you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So I'm going to take the same example as the poor husband trying to save money by doing everything at his place, fix the refrigerator whatsoever. I can do that, but I'm not going to be good at everything. So the ecosystem of large language models, generative AI models, ChatGPT was a very large model that used a lot of data and could do a lot of different things. But now what we have observed with the different models, we have smaller models that are really specialized in specific tasks. And you can get the help of experts to guide you, but you should always start with the customer experience in mind and set some specific criteria of success. My customer is happy when there is A, B, and C, and try to have some specific metrics on that. Very crisp success criteria, and reduce that to minimum. Why? Because if you have a long list, you will not be able to build a product. You have some trade-offs. You have to make some choices. Okay, customer won't have B, but they will have C and D because we think it's more important for their experience. The other part is that there is a very important literature about model capabilities. And you don't need to be super technical. There are models that are really good in translating. There are models that are really good in chat interaction. Llama 2 is a very good one. You have models that are really good in summarization, like Cloud, or instructional reasoning. So the space is moving very fast, but always have this in mind when you are choosing a model, because the model is really what is going to power the output of your predictions. Is how much is it aligned to the goal that I've set for the customer to be successful, and how can I list this criteria to make a selection? Because you cannot because if you take a model that does everything, of course it might work, but it's going to cost you a lot of money. Smaller models are cheaper, and smaller models gives better results based on the use case that you're focusing. The economics is not something that is being talked about in generative AI, but it can be very expensive. And the other part is that I want to share is that sometimes generative AI is not the right tool for the right job. Because if it costs 10 times more to solve a problem, maybe just using the old-fashioned will be still okay. That's how you make your judgment and your determination on the cost of the opportunity. The other part is that, and that's something I wanted to share with you, generative AI, it's not just a chatbot. Generative AI is not just having some fancy drawings. It is really the capability of doing things that human could only do. And you have the agents. So I don't know if you're familiar with the notion of agents, but agents are small task engine that are able to reason and that are able to take decision and do other tasks. So for example, you can create an agent that book a travel, right? And the agent will figure out, and by prompt engineering and other technical aspect, the agent will automatically determine, oh, I need XYZ information, so I will ask. So they will use natural language to ask. Okay, in order to book this, where, in which agency you want me to book, for what date, and so on and so on. It's able to do that via chat. But then, in your backend, with your API or whatever systems you have, you can easily build a bridge that will automatically allow this agent to carry the actions for you. So, and you can have an agent working with another agent. So you can have an agent that is specialized in looking for cheapest flight. You can have another agent doing, for example, conversion of paper documents to specific data. It's able to do that. And the pace of acceleration is going to just go up. I can see now with the iteration of the models, always start with what is the value I can give to my customer and what is the most impactful, and how can I go to production within the next 2-3 months, and will it scale? If you answer these 4 questions, you will be able to iterate very quickly, be aware about the risk and opportunities, and scale very quickly without killing your P&L. Because that's the risk. You have risk about your brand and risk about the cost.
Very well, very well. As we're actually moving towards the end, is it okay for us to get like some questions from the audience now?
Of course, why not?
Good.
We're in Texas.
Yes. Anyone, any questions that you would like to ask in the talk? Oh, have one over there? All right.
Oh, thanks. You were mentioning how this is very fast-paced, and as an not that technical decision maker, what resources would you recommend to kind of keep up?
What's your name?
Andres.
Andres. Nice to meet you, Andres. So the question is that what can you do to keep up with the pace, right, of changes? So I would say it really depends on your appetite of learning and the right use of your time. If you love technical aspect, I think there is. If you love technical aspects, you can go mostly in the major technology companies that are blogging about the topics. Because the good thing is that they, and specifically AWS, but they are already selecting the most impactful, business-driven tool. So that's super important to do that. The other thing is that, specifically to you, what are you looking for, and what line of business are you working for, and what things you are expecting from being up to date? Because it's a very open question. I just want to understand more about you, Andres.
No, I'm just wondering. I'm more in the marketing area. Of course, generative AI is important, but I just wanna I don't want some train to go bypass me and then just miss the train. I don't want to miss the big thing.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. The other,
Is there any magic, I guess?
No, there's not. I mean, you can ask an AI, but no, I would say to have a trusted advisor that can really point you to the source of information. That's the reason why I was trying to qualify, because there are so many sources of information. I don't want to overload you on that. But
I got a solution for it. My company created a virtual human who is capable of posting the latest news on AI on LinkedIn each week, and she does video updates of that. Now she does them in English. She also does them in Dutch. So when you don't want to miss the train, you can just follow her.
Oh, look at that.
Each week.
here you go. Already disrupted.
The source of this video podcast is Last Week in AI, a newsletter by 3 students from Stanford University. So it's a trustworthy source where we did some magic with and turn it into a podcast with generative AI.
See, that's the beauty of this event, is connecting, all the dots here, and this is great. Thanks for sharing. What's the name of it?
She's called Esther Olofsson. Esther Olofsson on LinkedIn. She's also on Instagram.
Yeah.
And she's quite fun to follow.
Very good. Thank you very much for sharing. We have another question on the back there, please. Thank you.
So I'm using AI to, I'm looking to use computer vision for detecting the early signs of pain in horses. And I'm looking at using deep lab cuts to do training, but that's kind of, my background is actually training horses in construction, so I'm way in over my head. Would you recommend going with deep lab cuts to use that as a training model, or is there a better one out there that I should be looking at?
So, thank you for asking the question. What is your specific use case?
To detect so using computer vision to analyze the movement, conformation, and hoof health of horses as a way to determine early signs of pain or
Saying, well, this is
correct,
it.
and this is not.
Yeah, exactly. The challenge is that yeah, you can have some models that can work on sequence of images because because it's a movement. It's not just a static thing. So there's a few libraries doing that. I mean, there's multiple approach, but what I would suggest to do, and we can have a conversation later, is that either you find somebody that was already working in a very similar field instead of not reinventing the wheel. It can be, I'm thinking out loud about, medical pathology and all of that have already this engine that can easily generalize to horses. So you just buy the technology or you buy the models or you see if there is any open source project to that. But I know that there's ton of project working on that, and building that shouldn't be that complicated. And then you can validate and test and improve your model. But that's an awesome project. That's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was quite impressive. Are you here in Texas?
I am, yes.
Yeah.
I
I got a feeling. Awesome. Any other questions for now? All right. If not, Nabil, I just want to take one more time the opportunity to say thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you both, and thank everyone for being here. Just so you know, we're going to be sharing the photos and also the recording at some point. So if you can, we already have some of your mails, but if you haven't signed up, you can go to connectingtheamericas.com, fill the form, and then once we have that ready, we can send that your way as well. Okay? Thank you. Enjoy the rest of Southway.
Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Great.
Yes.